What's up, guys? Different setup today because it's been absolutely pouring the whole day, so I had to migrate to a different part of the house. But anyways, that's besides the topic. Today I'm going to get into the intraday setup for Bitcoin. I'm going to take a look at ETH. I'm going to take a look at Sol. Most importantly, understand that there's been a very catastrophic event that just happened in the markets. So understand that a lot of you watching this may be affected. Now, I've already made a video over the weekends on kind of the long-term outlook for Bitcoin. It's literally titled, "Is the bull run over?" So I think that will give you a much better, answer in case you were wondering, yeah, the bull run's over. So I'm going to direct you to that video after you watch this video. But secondly, I've also made a video on, if you were one of the people that unfortunately lost money throughout this slump, and let's say you're in a very tough spot right now, I've also made a video on exactly how you can bounce back from it. And it's being edited at the moment, but when it's posted, I will be posting it. So subscribe, turn on the bell notification. Not a shameless plug because I truly think this will be beneficial to you. But otherwise, we'll get into the intraday setup for today. Before we get into it, last Friday's trade was a absolute banger. In the event that we sweep these relatively equal highs at around the hours between 8 to 10 a.m., we're going to be looking for price to give a short-term time frame, right? Meaning the 5-minute chart to start breaking lower. And then we're going to take that trade down to 119,600 or potentially lower based on the targets that I've set before. I think it was 118,400. We called the top, we called the short. Unfortunately, I did not manage to hold the trade all the way for the entire dump. But it is what it is. It's still a win. And so I think that puts us up to 116 of the last 146 calls that we've made publicly here on YouTube. Again, everyone made money. In fact, I'm super happy to see that most of you here are not, at least the ones who've replied to me on Twitter, are not the ones that have lost money throughout this dump. I cannot tell you how proud I am that, we're one of the only channels that has been calling things the way they are and not trying to sugarcoat it, not telling you to go 100x long onto Bitcoin saying that, oh yeah, we're definitely going to get a new, all-time high or whatever. We keep it real. We're going to continue to do that moving forward. At the end of the day, my responsibility as someone who makes these YouTube videos to tell you about the markets is that I'm going to try my best to not lose you guys money. The markets is already tough enough as it is, especially with all of these other YouTubers and Twitter guys who absolutely do not know what the hell they're doing. And yeah, they're just putting a lot of people's financial situation at risk here. And we're not going to be one of those guys. So anyways, enough chit chat. Let's get into the video today. So I'm going to preface this by saying that chances are the next couple of days are not going to be amazing for trading, primarily because we just went through arguably the largest dump in the history of crypto. Again, this was $19 billion worth of dump, where the second and third place were both about $1.2 and $1.4 billion each of liquidations. This is, by all accounts, objectively speaking, a very volatile event. And the thing that you need to understand about the markets is that after high volatility periods, you tend to go into periods of low volatility. It's the exact same reason why you hear these people talk about, oh yeah, the longer you stay in a range, the more explosive the move is going to be afterwards. And it's for this reason, right? Because the market goes from periods of low volatility to high volatility. Right now, essentially, this is just a fancy way of saying that the market's probably going to be chopping around for a bit. And so the next couple of days are not going to be high probability trading conditions for you to execute in. Now, it doesn't mean that we cannot take trades. It's just we want to keep in mind this market condition so that we can act accordingly, meaning we're not going to be too aggressive. And in the event that we do jump into a trade, what's going to stop it out at 2R or maybe 3R at most, more likely 2R, because we're expecting the markets to not give us a huge move. Again, still possible to catch a small move, but we just got to take that into account. But anyways, just taking a look at things on the weekly chart, I've already kind of prefaced this in the, this is the end of the bull run video, but we did not get a weekly close beneath this level, which is absolutely key for us to hold above. So we're still all good. However, last week's candle closed bearish, which means this week we are technically still bearish on the weekly bias. Although if I were to give my honest opinion here, I do think that we're just going to form an inside bar this week. And what that means is that because this range of this handle is so huge, it's very unlikely that we're going to get to either the high or the low of the last weekly candle. Which means, again, and I prefaced this already, we're expecting choppy conditions, which means whatever move that we expect throughout this week, expect less volatility. Okay, now we move on to the daily chart, and the daily chart yesterday closed bullish. So today we are going to look for longs. However, just keep in mind that we are now trading into some kind of resistance level. Is price just going to dump from here on out? I don't know, but I'm going to tell you how it is. In fact, I made a video recently on this exact mindset that's allowed me to, again, with every up and down, I've mostly been on the right side of it, like about 80% of the time, right? This is just based off of all of these videos that I made since February, and I made a video about, this process and this philosophy that I adopt to achieve that. Again, will be posted sometime soon, once it's edited. If you would like that, just subscribe and send on the bell notification. Otherwise, going down to the 1 hourly chart, again, because we're looking weekly for longs here, there are a couple levels that I will immediately mark out, which is this level right here, this and this. Altogether forms what is known as relatively equal lows, which means that in the event that price sweeps this today, within the next couple of hours, we're going to look for price to actually give a short-term bounce, and this is what we're going to capitalize on. One of the important things that you need to know about these intraday calls that I'm making on this channel is that we are not trying to capture the largest moves of the day. What we're trying to do is to capture one high probability 2R move within every single day. That's what keeps us consistent. That's what allows us to make money without putting ourselves at risk of these liquidation events like this. Now, granted, they don't happen very often, but still, this is the methodology that I'm utilizing within these videos. And so just take that into consideration when you watch these videos. So these are the relatively equal lows, and potentially, or just potentially, you will tap into this order block right here. Like as you sweep out these lows, you're going to track into the order block, and that's what's going to give us that bounce that we're looking for. The only thing that I will, again, caution you about is the fact that we currently have a head and shoulders pattern, right? This being the neckline. And, in the event that you break down here, there's a chance that today could just be a no trade. In fact, most likely, unless I get like really clear confirmations, I'm probably not going to be doing any trading today. Besides that, if you take a look at news, you can see that today, Monday, there's no news. Tuesday, there's no news. It's not until Wednesday, Thursday, and Wednesday and Thursday are the only days where there's going to be news, which means that those are probably going to be your highest probability trading days throughout the week. Just another kind of announcement that I'm going to make. I'm going to be flying on Wednesday, leaving Korea, unfortunately. And like my flight it's probably going to take the whole day, right? It's a longer flight than usual. So I'm most likely not going to be able to make a video on Wednesday. I'll try to keep you guys posted on Twitter if I can, but just take that day as my day off, because physically I'm just unable to record a video. But otherwise, I will be back on Thursday. And ideally, again, we want to focus all of our trading on Wednesday and Thursday, and because they have news. And in all of the experience that we've had so far over the throughout the whole year as I've been making these videos, is that most of our big winners, and most of our winners, period, actually, comes on news days, because the market is just in a much more high probability state. And so, yeah, the call today is definitely going to be towards the long side, but I will preface this by saying that the invalidation for this is that if you do not get a lower time frame change in order flow, which means if you don't get, for example, the price just keeps doing this without showing any signs that one thing to reverse, it's just going to be a no trade straight out. And in the event that it goes short, like, we don't have to take action on that either, because the daily bias is bullish, and it's never too late to jump into a short tomorrow or Wednesday once we get more confirmations that there is indeed a downside mood happening. So that's the mindset we want to adopt here. It's very critical that at this time, when there's so much panic and when there's so much fear in the market, that if you have the capital available, take advantage of it, because the easiest money that you're going to ever make in a bull run is when stuff like this happens. You buy into fear, extreme fear, all for like 3 months, and you're going to make a 3x on your money. This is the bull run playbook that I've shared in masterclasses before, and this is the exact, we're seeing it play out for the first time, like so far during the cycle, because the cycle has just been very different compared to the rest. But anyways, the invalidation for this will definitely be if you close underneath this order block right here, meaning below 113,700. And in the event that you close below here at 114,600, it's already kind of like firing off some warning signs, because this would be a lower low. This would be a lower high, it should be a lower low, and then potentially you're going to look for a retrace for price to continue going lower. So again, you're seeing how today is a little bit less clear, right? We have reasons to believe that eventually this could go up, but we have a much stronger reason to believe that it's going to go down. So you see the risk here, and what I mean when I say low probability conditions. There are many other days where things are clear, it's obvious, and the call is usually, we're going up, buy, we're going down, short. Kind of like last Friday, right? All the signs were dead, just short. I'll definitely keep you guys posted on Twitter later on. But again, most likely today's not going to be a trading day for me. And I'm even going to go so far as to say that whatever happens here today, I'm just not going to log in. Now, there is potentially another scenario that could be playing out right here, which is a smart money reversal into some kind of market maker sell model. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but essentially, this is the first impulse up. You're going to be looking for a second impulse up, which will mark the top. Usually this will coincide with some kind of higher hovering PD array, just like this one right here. One of the reasons why I was able to call all of these shorts on, especially the one on Friday, is we were getting a market maker sell model. This right here is a bearish order block. Price did a smart money reversal. First impulse, second impulse up, and then break down. And then that is when you get that break in market structure, break in order flow, whatever. And we started shorting on Thursday and we shorted again on Friday. That was the move, by the way. And right now, like, again, this is going to be more of a prediction rather than something that's already happening in the charts, but it's a likely scenario where impulse up into some kind of higher time frame key level and then down. Again, it's not happened yet. It's an idea that we can keep track of. But yeah, overall, like the call this is my official poll for today. I don't know if it's going to play out, but if it happens, I'm going to keep you guys posted on Twitter and I'm going to take a trade. If it doesn't, then yeah, we just take today as a no trade. It is what it is. And of course, it starts going lower today. I'm just going to mark this as a loss, of course, as I do. I try to give you full transparency, especially on these public calls, so that you can have some faith that, hey, we make more money than we lose. But otherwise, let's now take a look at Ethereum real quick. Ethereum and Solana, by the way, have been bouncing back really strongly. Again, we caught the short on Ethereum last Friday, and so far you have gotten another change in state of delivery towards the downside, unlike Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin, you did not get change in state of delivery. See, you closed above. That's a really good sign, which means that Bitcoin is likely to go up, while Ethereum is likely to remain weak. This could change. Again, you're going to be looking for longs today. Just understand that overall on the high time frame, you are looking pretty bearish. Now, for today, the setup is going to be same old. You have relative equal lows here and here. When either one of these levels get swept in between the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. New York, you're going to be looking for a 5-minute change in state of delivery towards the upside, and that's going to be your setup. And Solana, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Now, weekly, you have closed below this level right here, which means that this is known as a change in state of delivery. Again, it's not positive news for Solana, although that bounce from $140 is very promising. But same thing here, you're now coming into this bearish order lock, which is a otherwise very bearish resistance level. But in terms of the intraday time frame, again, we're trying to, these videos are made primarily for intraday. At any given time, right, if you look at different time frames, tell you different stories. But what's important is that we understand the context that we're executing from. These are intraday trades, which means they're opened and closed within 2 to 3 hours. And so whatever's happening on the higher time frame, day, weekly, you use it, we keep it in mind, but we also understand that in the intraday time frame, we're looking for longs. And here, it's also kind of similar. For Solana, actually, ideally, the condition for Solana is going to be a candle close above $199, because that will mark this as a potential bullish order block. And if you get this, that will be the entry setup. Again, you want to look for this to happen to the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. New York. But just keep in mind that today's a non-news day. The market just went through a huge dump, very volatile move, and things are not looking amazing, right? It's not. Ideally, you sit back and you relax and you watch the videos that are about to pump out. But otherwise, you can head over to dinner now. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Ciao, ciao.